Near the city of the Alhambra, there exists a land embraced by both the sea and the mountains, crowned by the perfumed fragrance of 1,000 colours and hot Mediterranean sun. A land where time stops and the soul reveals itself while you discover the history reflected in its streets. A beautiful lookout to the always pure and white Sierra Nevada. A mix of cultures of the Andalusia of long ago and full of battles and arguments between the Moors and the Christians. Vélez de Benaudalla, surrounded by the sea and the mountains, is home to a natural environment full of charms. Located in the south of the province of Granada, its name comes from the Arabian times in which it was originally called Balis Banu ad Allah, which means Valley of the Son of the Servant of Allah. It is a place whose Arabic origins can be seen in the framework of small, narrow streets and various parapet-like cul-de-sacs, which convey the unmistakable flavour of Al-Andalus, an epoch in which our country was the world capital of different cultures living together. The local spring was what attracted the first Roman settlement which we know about. Nevertheless, it was in the age of Muslim Spain when the town became what it is today, with the urban outline still preserved in the old part of the town. The irrigation canals originating at the spring were perfectly designed to supply both the daily needs of homes and people, as well as the fields and crops. The Arabs' passion for water is also the origin of the culture of water, which even today characterizes Vélez de Benaudalla. The primary example of our culture of water is the Rio Guadalfeo, which has been utilized in all ways, but always with respect for the environment, in order to create quality tourism in our municipality. It guarantees the irrigation of the subtropical crops and of the coastal greenhouses, and is a permanent source as well as an important outlet to the Mediterranean Sea. The river, its winding course caressing the town, supplying the fields and orchards with crystal clean water, never resting or tiring, providing for every garden and farm, giving life to the fruit and other tropical products of the Granada coast. Close to the river Guadalfeo and not so far from Vélez de Benaudalla is the Rules Dam. With an arched graveness, it is 130 metres high from tip to toe and 620 metres long, with a capacity of 117 cubic hectometers of water. Considered a masterpiece of contemporary Andalusian engineering, it is located directly in the riverbed from the Guadalfeo, below where it meets with the river Isbor. It collects waters flowing down from the south side of the Sierra Nevada, the northern face of the Sierra de Lujar, and from the deep ravines of the Contrabellesa. The Rules Dam not only guarantees water for farmland, but it also supplies the consumers of the Costa Tropical, who in summer months can number over more than 250,000. Continuing along the river, we find a gorge, El Tajo de los Vados. Geologically, it forms part of the Manto del Alcázar, which is composed of carbonated marble. A network of roads and forest paths allow one to penetrate to the interior of the karst. It's the ideal stopover point to practice certain sports such as rock face climbing. Another of the popular sites for the practice of sports in the wilds of nature, such as hiking, horseback riding, canoeing and cycling, is the Merendero La Explanación. This recreational area of the Rio Guadalfeo, where it passes by Vélez de Benaudalla, possesses a small river beach where one can swim year-round. There are also stone tables and chairs located at the river's edge, various barbecues and a kiosk, meaning it's not even necessary to go anywhere else in order to enjoy a full day's worth of activities in peaceful surroundings, while you listen to the singular and pleasant whispering of the waters. Nevertheless, the most prominent feature of the Nizari age in Vélez de Benaudalla is the Casa Jardín Nazarí. The first recorded historical references to this garden date back to the 16th century from the book Apeo de Vélez, 29th of January 1573. This garden, along with the Generalife, are the only ones preserved from this epoch. The Nazarí garden's characteristic style has been maintained, keeping alive the primitive sense of the Arabic garden. It is magnificently located and tended to by a dedicated gardener, all part and parcel with its purpose of exalting the senses, which is the ultimate goal of this kind of garden, which aims to stimulate constantly the daily experience of the inhabitants. Before entering fully into describing our garden, we need to know why the Arabs gave this garden so much importance. The gardens of Al-Andalus were designed to bring to the men and women who enjoyed them 5 great benefits: spiritual, aesthetic, psychological, botanical and scientific, and nutritional. The Vélez de Benaudalla garden is an exceptional example of the Muslim garden whose historical value is of great importance, as it is one of the very few still surviving in Andalusia. The Generalife is the outstanding example, and restoration experts consider the Vélez de Benaudalla garden as the number 2, which is why they call it Little Generalife. It conveys exceptional aesthetic values which are defined primarily by the delicate conjunction of natural elements and constructed spaces, as well as through the careful design and a true concern for creating areas in which to enjoy the senses, which are comprised of the following elements: the plants for their aroma and contrasting colours, the water with all the aesthetic symbolism Islamic culture attributed to it, the vertical garden and the tajo with its suggestive forms in the rock face, which come from the slow and prolonged sedimentation of lime through geological time, possesses an undeniable charm. We are dealing with a vertical garden of immense value, which makes for an enriching spatial and landscape experience. In the gorge appear cave-like cavities which fire the imagination, and with the aim of gaining access to them, a new stairway has been erected, including guard railings for security. The irrigation canal is the backbone of the garden, just as in the case of the Generalife, serving both a practical as well as aesthetic function. Water flows through it, gushing over the falls of the mill, and lightly filtering out of the small pumps, whose dispersal is controlled by water wheels. To this ornamental use is added the irrigation of the various spaces of the garden. To finish its travels, the irrigation canal finally comes to an end in a singular passage through vine-covered pergolas. The garden makes for an exceptional platform from which to view the Guadalfeo Valley. Also, the perspective from here makes clear the organisation of the hillside terraces, the communicating passages between them, the varied vegetation, and of spaces realised with architectural pieces such as water wheels and springs. An area of great beauty is the path leading down to the river, from where one can observe grottos, full of the natural formations of stalactites and stalagmites. This path leads to the lookout point that offers magnificent views of the Guadalfeo Valley. The fundamental objective was to recreate a typical fenced-off Arabic farm, to recover the garden and to make clear the value of all the possibilities of the space, on a historical and landscape level, which is to say, to recover the essence and the message of the garden. As we can see, the characteristics of this agricultural enclave correspond unmistakably with the ideal descriptions of Andalusian agronomists. It is a place of enclosed agricultural development, where water and the vegetation which depends on it constitute its central concept, harmonizing luxury, abundance, and prosperity as a faithful mirror of paradise as dreamed of in Islam. In addition to the above, another heritage site in Vélez de Benaudalla of great historical and cultural importance is the castle of Ulloa. located to the northeast of the town on an elevation which dies away at its base and from which one has a beautiful view. Of Arabic origin, it was conceived and constructed as a watchtower and strategically connected to other watchtowers in the various Arabic settlements between the coast and the city of Granada. With the purpose of safeguarding the town's citizens, it forewarned them of possible invasions and attacks. During the reconquest of Vélez by the Christians, the tower was destroyed but was later rebuilt on the original foundations in the 16th century by the family Ulloa, who were granted the farmsteads of Vélez as a lordship after the conquest of these lands by the Catholic kings in February 1494. After prosperity reached Vélez in the 18th century, a church was built on the original plot of land, which the old 15th century church, characterized by both Muslim and Christian elements, had occupied but which had been destroyed by a fire in the 17th century. After repeated calls for its restoration, it was finally decided to build anew, after the style of the times during the reign of Charles III. The project was entrusted to the royal architect Ventura Rodriguez by the House of Castile of the ecclesiastical architecture of the Kingdom of Granada. Inside one finds the works of the Granada painter Pedro Anastasio Bocanegra. The church has since been declared a National Heritage Site. The cuisine of the town is based on all things local: produce, meat, dairy and hunting. But Vélez is also famous for its roscos, a sandwich in the form of a ring, and pestiños, fried dough and eggs covered in honey. Both of Arabic origin and still made as they originally were by Vélez's Arabic ancestors. The Andalusian past and the later Christian reconquest have left many unerasable traces, which are celebrated in the fiestas of Moors and Christians. Held annually on the 13th of June, these fiestas forming a part of the local fiestas, which are dedicated to the town's patron saint, San Antonio de Padua y al Corazón de Jesús. Modern-day Vélez is very accessible. By land, take the new highway, the A44 from Granada, only 20 minutes. By sea, via the Motril port, only 10 minutes away. By air, via the Federico Garcia Lorca Airport in Granada, only some 20 minutes away. To end, Vélez de Benaudalla has conserved many of the traces that the Nizari culture left in our province, which makes the town of exceptional interest for all who visit. Vélez de Benaudalla, portal from the coast up to the Alpujarra Mountains, of the sea and the mountain range, the snow and the water.